Forrest Fenn Scrapbooks Review. An AI overview of Forrest Fenn Scrapbooks 121 through 254. Briefing document. Forrest Fenn's blog posts December 2014 to August 2015 date. October 26, 2023 prepared for. Analysis of Forrest Fenn's online presence during a specific period of the treasure hunt. Sources. Excerpts from Forrest Fenn's blog posts and related files 121.pdf to 144.pdf. Executive Summary. This briefing document summarizes the main themes and important content found in Forrest Fenn's blog posts from December 2014 to August 2015. During this period, Fenn continued to engage with the treasure hunt community through anecdotes, reflections on his past, responses to searchers, and updates related to the ongoing search for his hidden treasure. Key themes include Fenn's personal reflections on aging, his past experiences fishing, flying, business, relationships, interactions with searchers and their stories, and subtle, or sometimes not so subtle commentary on the nature of the chase and the searchers themselves. The period also reveals the growing impact of the treasure hunt on individuals' lives, as evidenced in letters shared by Fenn. Main themes and important ideas. Facts. 1. Personal reflections and anecdotes. Aging and mortality. Fenn frequently touches upon his age and changing perspectives. In December 2014 Tesuk is best, he humorously reflects on getting a pet at 76. I was 76 when she was new, so it's a stretch to say I grew up with her. Hopefully you know what I mean. Nostalgia and past experiences. Many posts recount Fenn's memories from his youth, military service, and early business ventures. December 2014 Fenn Bronze details his post-Air Force career starting a bronze casting business, highlighting his initial struggles and ingenuity in trading art for other valuable items. After months of working all day long and most of the night, I still didn't have any money. But I had a nice inventory of Indian baskets, rugs, Winchester rifles, and Colt pistols. I was like the rich man who had all of his money in a safe and couldn't find the key. January 2015 Firecracker. Shares a story about a childhood friend's firecracker business and how it indirectly led to his meeting his wife, Peggy. January 2015 In a Tuck recounts a daring diving experience in his youth, emphasizing overcoming fear and pushing personal limits. He concludes, I never climbed the ladder on that tower again and I still haven't. May 2015 Unassing a D model near the DMZ provides a detailed, jargon-filled account of Fenn being shot down during the Vietnam War, written for fellow fighter pilots. It showcases his resilience and survival skills. Relationships. Fenn shares anecdotes about his wife Peggy, friends like Eric Sloan in January 2015 My Eric, and even his pets Tesuk in December 2014 Tesuk is best, and the wild pigs in December 2014 More Than Just a Pig. His affection for Peggy is evident. Peggy has gotten prettier and I've gotten older, which must be one of Madam Nature's major design deficiencies. January 2015 Firecracker. Humor and wit. Fenn's writing style is often light-hearted and humorous, even when discussing serious topics. His descriptions of his pet pig's growth and his diving mishap are examples of this. 2. Engagement with the treasure hunt community. Sharing searcher stories. Fenn occasionally posts letters or anecdotes from searchers, offering glimpses into their experiences and motivations. The letter in April 2015 details a family's bear encounter during their search in the Madison River area, highlighting both the adventurous spirit and the real dangers involved. The author notes, our tables are strewn with books about mountain men, fly fishing, Yellowstone maps, and dictionaries. Our kids are full of ideas, and it is amazing to see how they interpret your poem and seek out answers to the clues. The Fly Challenge. The January 2015 Holy Feathers and January 2015. This is an extended body dry fly posts highlight Fenn's fly challenge, where he invited searchers to tie fishing flies. This demonstrates a form of interactive engagement beyond just providing clues. He offered a quarter for a better-looking fly than his father's jungle cock fly. Subtle commentary on the search. While not explicitly giving clues, Fenn's choice of stories and reflections can sometimes be interpreted in the context of the treasure hunt. For example, the story about remembering a fishing spot in January 2015 Lost My Spot might subtly touch on the importance of memory and observation. Acknowledgement of the hunt's impact. The post in May 2015 notes, last summer the motel occupancy rate in Santa Fe was up 10% over the previous summer, and no one knows why, except maybe the Chamber of Commerce and the stores that sell metal detectors. This acknowledges the economic impact of the treasure hunt on the Santa Fe area. 3. Material possessions and sentimental value. Fenn often writes about objects with personal significance, such as his father's jungle cock feathers, January 2015 holy feathers, his mildew hat, January 2015 personality galore, and the bronze portrait of Eric Sloan, January 2015 my Eric. These posts provide insights into his values and the stories behind his possessions. Regarding his unusual hat, he states, I hereby make the assertion that mildew has more personality than any other hat within word distance of Santa Fe, and I dare anyone to challenge that claim. The February 2015 Not Tired Yet post humorously personifies his old house slippers, emphasizing their comfort and enduring utility over newer, less familiar items. This reflects a valuing of experience and comfort over novelty. 4. Responses to letters and communications. The February 2015 This letter came from Allison. Post is a direct public response to a letter Fenn received, highlighting an unusual interaction and his characteristic wit. 5. Updates and logistics. The presence of sections like Most Important Info Meet UPS 2020 February 2020 and the email address dal@lumafilm.com suggests the blog also served as a platform for disseminating information about events and potentially for searchers to share their stories or inquiries with Dal Nitzel, who managed the blog. Impact on searchers based on shared letters. Inspiration and motivation. Searchers found inspiration in Fenn's story and his books, driving them to explore new places and learn new things. Personal transformation. The letter in July 2015 reveals how Fenn's book provided solace and a new perspective to someone going through a difficult divorce. I have to say your book saved my life. It is true that in 100 years no one will know I even existed, but that doesn't matter now, does it? Because it really doesn't matter who we are if we are someone to ourselves. Shared experiences and community. The blog provided a space for searchers to connect with Fenn and indirectly with each other through shared stories and the comments section. Family bonding. For some, like the family described in May 2015, the treasure hunt became a catalyst for family adventures and creating lasting memories, regardless of finding the treasure. Ongoing developments. The consistent latest post and most recent comments sections indicate an active online community engaging with Fenn's content and discussing various aspects of the treasure hunt and related topics, e.g., the SS Islander, the finder's story. The repeated listing of books, shirts, and other searcher stories highlights the growing ecosystem surrounding the treasure hunt. Conclusion. The blog posts from December 2014 to August 2015 offer a multifaceted view of Forrest Fenn's ongoing engagement with the treasure hunt. He continued to share personal stories and reflections, fostering a connection with the search community while subtly shaping their understanding of the chase. The shared letters reveal the profound impact the treasure hunt and Fenn's writing had on individuals' lives, extending beyond the pursuit of gold to personal growth and meaningful experiences. The blog served as a central hub for information, anecdotes, and the evolving narrative of the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. Briefing document. Analysis of Forrest Fenn's scrapbook posts. This briefing document summarizes the main themes, important ideas, and facts presented in the provided excerpts from Forrest Fenn's scrapbook posts numbered 145 to 164. The posts cover a range of topics, including personal anecdotes, reflections on life and nature, responses to searchers, and updates related to his treasure hunt. Overall themes. Nostalgia and reflection. Many posts delve into Fenn's past, recounting significant memories, relationships, and experiences. This highlights a recurring theme of looking back and finding meaning in past events. The nature of the treasure hunt and its impact. Several posts directly or indirectly address the treasure hunt, its purpose, and its effect on searchers. Fenn often expresses appreciation for the adventures it has inspired. Appreciation for nature and the simple things. Observations of wildlife, changes in seasons, and the beauty of the natural world are frequent subjects, reflecting Fenn's deep connection with nature. Humor and wit. Fenn's writing style is often characterized by a dry wit, playful remarks, and a touch of self-deprecation. Engagement with searchers. While not all posts directly address searchers, some offer insights into Fenn's perspective on their efforts and the broader community that has formed around the hunt. Dealing with mortality and legacy. The undercurrent of Fenn's reflections often touches upon themes of aging, memory, and what he will leave behind. Key ideas and facts from each source. 145.pdf. The Bullet Comes Home. After 65 years on the road, August 2015. Nostalgic anecdote. Fenn recounts the story of his first car, a 1935 Plymouth Tudor sedan named the Bullet, by his high school sweetheart Peggy. He details the experience of buying it as a 15-year-old and their youthful adventures in it. My first car was a black 60-horsepower, 1935 Plymouth Tudor sedan. Peggy named my wonderful car the Bullet because she said it was shot. When Peggy and I wanted to go out on a date, like for a burger and a movie at the Arcadia Theater, I'd pawn my silver dollar with Peggy's mother. Loss and rediscovery. The post describes the sudden disappearance of the Bullet when Fenn was in the Air Force and his long-lasting sadness. Decades later, his friend Richard Blake, a serious car nut, found its twin brother in Maryland. When I came home on my first leave, the car was just gone, and no one was willing to talk about it. I went into mourning. With one email, I came out of mourning after 65 years. All of a sudden, instead of feeling old, I felt like I'd ripened. Intention for a keepsake. Fenn mentions still having the silver dollar he used to pawn for dates, and his contemplation of where to leave it when he's gone, suggesting a sentimental attachment to objects. I still have that silver $, but it looks a little wallet-worn. I am trying to decide where to leave it when I'm gone. Can't be just any place. 146.pdf. No specific title, likely November 2015 or later. Reflection on time and memory. The post opens with a poem about forgetting the past and remembering beauty. Fenn then observes dragonflies and damselflies by his pond, musing on insect behavior. Here's a toast to the art of forgetting, that friend of the fast-dimming past. I've often wondered how insects of the same species recognize each other. They can't see themselves, so how do they know they're chumming with others of the same kin? Observation of nature. He describes various wildlife around his pond, including a hummingbird and 3 ducks named Angelo, Barney, and Tail End Charlie. 3 esteemed inhabitants on the pond are Angelo, Barney, and Tail End Charlie. Anecdote about grandmotherly wisdom. Fenn shares a light-hearted anecdote about his grandmother's superstitions, contrasting them with his and Peggy's long life despite planting a weeping willow. This touches on the fallibility of received wisdom. She also said you shouldn't plant a weeping willow tree because when it gets big enough to cover your grave, you'll die. However, Peggy and I have such a giant willow that we planted as a seedling in 1988, and we're still vertical. Makes me suspicious of grandmotherly wisdom. Appreciation for stillness and nature. The post concludes with Fenn's appreciation for observing wildlife and finding solace in nature. Nothing but good can happen when I'm still and observing wildlife in its natural landscape. To describe it almost wears me out of words. In nature's quietness, I can steal away to places where all my dreams come real, at least for a little while. That's the way I feel. 147.pdf. Art, AS and Emotion, November 2015. Questioning the value of original art. Fenn ponders the difference in perceived value between an original artwork and a high-quality print, suggesting that emotional connection and perceived prestige play a significant role. If a man really loves art, why would he pay $2,500 for an oil painting by a local artist when he could have the greatest art ever painted for $1,500? Does it seem reasonable to you that a $50 million value should separate an original by one of those guys from a print of the same painting, when from 5 feet away, they look exactly alike? Anecdote with Stanley Marcus. Fenn recounts his time excavating with Stanley Marcus and shares a story about the perception of value and pride associated with purchasing from a high-end store like Neiman Marcus. Once he said, "Forrest, 2 ladies are walking down the street together wearing identical-looking full-length fur coats. One lady bought hers from my Neiman Marcus store in Dallas for $10,000, and the other received hers as a Christmas present from her husband. He got it on sale at J.C. Penney for $1,995. Do you think you could tell which lady was wearing my coat?" "No," I said tolerantly, and that got him started. In his quiet and unobtrusive manner, he explained that he built his businesses on the premise that one could tell the difference. "The woman wearing my label carries herself better. She just knows, and pride sets her mood. She's not afraid to make eye contact with anyone on the street." Reconsidering art emotions. Inspired by Marcus's insight, Fenn reflects on his own feelings about art and considers finding a middle ground, or compromise in his perspective. He mentions a painting by John Moyers. "I've been thinking about what Stanley told me, so maybe I'll have to rethink my art emotions. Is there some middle ground, or a good place to compromise?" 148.pdf. The Winds of Change, November 2015. Reflection on autumnal equinox. Fenn describes the changes that occur with the autumnal equinox, noting the decrease in daylight and temperature, which he dislikes. He includes a short poem expressing his reluctance to let go of summer. The autumnal equinox occurs on about the 24th of September. That's when the sun is lined up with the center of the earth. Darkness and daylight are exactly 12 hours apart, and the sun rises due east and sets due west. The temperature begins a steady drop, and the days start getting shorter. Those are the 2 changes I don't like. Oh, tell me not with words asunder, seasons bring both dry and wet. Spare me hues of gray and umber, I'm not through with summer yet. Loss of aspen trees. Fenn recounts the unexpected death of many trees, including quaking aspens, in his little forest, expressing his sadness at the loss of their beauty and shade. Several years ago, Madame Nature exercised her prerogative in our space without forewarning, nor even offering a reason why, and countless trees in my little forest perished. No longer will I be lulled by the throaty whisper of quaking aspens that one time populated our landscape, nor shall I ever again enjoy their shade that protected me from the glaring summer sun. Hope for the future. Despite the loss, Fenn expresses optimism by mentioning his plan to plant 200 pine saplings, invoking the saying, "There is always hope when old men plant young trees." Soon I'll plant 200 pine saplings. There is always hope when old men plant young trees. Connection to grandson. A photograph and caption mention his grandson Shiloh shoveling snow, noting the now-gone aspen trees in the background, further emphasizing the theme of change and loss. 149.pdf. A memory runs through my family, November 2015. Unexpected email and family history. Fenn receives an email from a woman named Lou Ellen Williams whose family history is intertwined with his through their connections in West Yellowstone. Lightning struck me today in the form of an email from someone I never met and do not know. But the history of our respective families is so entwined as to be almost umbilical. Lou Ellen's childhood memory. Lou Ellen recounts a cherished childhood fishing trip in 1958 in the Lamar River Basin near Yellowstone, sparked by her interest in the treasure hunt. When I was 10 back in 1958, my family went on a fishing pack trip out of Jackson Hole, over the Divide, and into the Lamar River Basin. These were the most special 10 days I can recall in all my youth. Question about treasure in Yellowstone. Lou Ellen asks Fenn what would happen if she found the treasure in Yellowstone National Park, expressing concern about it being claimed by the government. My real question is, if I were to happen to find the treasure, and if it happened to be in Yellowstone Park, would you consider claiming it yourself and offering a finder's fee? The last thing I would want would be to find it and hand it over to the government. Fenn's response and personal connections. Fenn confirms his deep historical connections to the West Yellowstone community and the Eagle family mentioned by Lou Ellen. He offers to retrieve the treasure for her if found in YNP. I knew all of that old bunch in West Yellowstone, starting in about 1938, from Old Sam, the patriarch to Wally, Joe, Bet, Rose, and the rest. Wally and I fished together many times on the Firehole, Gibbon, and Madison rivers. I knew your grandmother Frankie when she was barely old enough to wear a top, and even today she remains a cherished friend. If you find the treasure in YNP, tell me where it is and I'll go get it for you, so you won't be thrown down the cauldron by the bear. Implied threat from the Government Park Service. Appreciation for the hunt's impact. Lou Ellen expresses gratitude for the adventure and memories the treasure hunt has created for many. Again, thanks so much for setting in motion an amazing adventure for thousands of individuals and families who will now have all their own stories to tell about their great treasure hunt. 151.pdf. A Stellar Solution, March 2016. Searcher's elaborate star-based theory. A searcher initially named Stern and later revealed to have used the pseudonym Redigo, presents a detailed theory for solving the poem based on constellations and celestial navigation. Google Earth has a sister component named Google Sky. If you look up to the stars in the right place and at the right time, an entire series of clues fall into place. Interpretation of poem lines. The searcher connects lines from the poem to specific stars, constellations, and astronomical concepts, offering a highly imaginative and complex solution. Examples include Where Warm Waters Halt, as Acamar in Eridanus, and Home of Brown as the first point of Aries. Where warm waters halt, because Eridanus is the river constellation and is visible only in the southern sky. Both stars are known as the end of the river. Home of Brown becomes apparent. The first point of Aries, as described in Brown's Nautical Almanac, is your HOB. Alternative terrestrial silhouette theory. The searcher also proposes an alternative theory based on landform silhouettes visible in Google Earth near Hegben Lake, suggesting they resemble figures from Fenn's book and other clues. In Google Earth, just west of Hegben Lake are a couple of silhouettes created by the general landforms. Directly west is a gentleman with a staff and a hat that looks suspiciously like your TFTW cover. Self-awareness of overthinking. The searcher acknowledges the complexity and potential unlikelihood of their theories, referencing Fenn's statement about overthinking the solution. Of course, all that also perfectly fits with your statement about overthinking the solution. I'm really good at that. Einstein quote. The searcher references a more complete quote from Einstein about imagination encircling the world. Imagination encircles the world. So there you go. 152.pdf. No specific title, likely March 2016 or later. Story from an old friend, Black Bart. Fenn shares a story received from a retired 3-star general whose call sign was Black Bart. Fenn's was Comanche. The friend's comment relates to simpler times and the power of imagination. He taught me that imagination could nearly always be used to narrow the gap. Heartwarming story about information, please. The core of the post is a touching anecdote about a young boy, Wayne, who develops a comforting relationship with the telephone operator, information please, in his small Pacific Northwest town. Then I discovered that somewhere inside the wonderful device lived an amazing person. Her name was Information Please, and there was nothing she did not know. Recurring comfort and connection. Wayne seeks solace and information from the operator during childhood and later, as an adult, attempts to reconnect with her. Often, in moments of doubt and perplexity, I would recall the serene sense of security I had then. I appreciated now how patient, understanding, and kind she was to have spent her time on a little boy. Poignant ending. Wayne eventually learns that Sally, the operator, has passed away but left a final, meaningful message for him. Tell him there are other worlds to sing in. He'll know what I mean. The note said, tell him there are other worlds to sing in. He'll know what I mean. 153.pdf. No specific title, March 2016. Searcher's connection to Skippy's story. A searcher writes to Fenn expressing astonishment at the similarity between the passing of Fenn's dog Skippy recounted in The Thrill of the Chase and their own underwater proposal experience. When I read the segment on Skippy's passing, I was set back for a minute. That is why I am writing to you. It was astonishing how he passed, and the similarities to my story. You see, I took a cruise with my wife. We went to Cozumel and took a scuba diving adventure. Underwater proposal anecdote. The searcher describes proposing to their wife underwater using redneck form of sign language and theatrics. At about 20 to 30 feet in depth, I stopped her, and in my best attempt, proposed to her underwater using my redneck form of sign language and theatrics. Implied theme of unexpected connections. The post highlights the way Fenn's writings can resonate with readers on a personal level, creating unexpected connections through shared human experiences, even seemingly unusual ones. 155.pdf. No specific title, May 2016. Clarification on accuracy. Fenn directly addresses a misinterpretation of something he wrote on page 14 of The Thrill of the Chase, emphasizing that he didn't say he needed to be correct only 85% of the time. I was very careful not to say I needed to be correct only 85% of the time. Read it again, middle of page 14. It doesn't help to stretch a tangent. Emphasis on precise reading. This short post underscores the importance of careful and accurate reading of his book and statements for those trying to understand the clues or his intentions. 158.pdf. No specific title, date uncertain. Description of treasure chest contents. Fenn provides details about some of the specific items he placed in the treasure chest, including gold and silver hunting case watches, large gems, gold coins and nuggets, 2 pre-Columbian gold mirrors, a Tyrone fetish necklace, and his turquoise roe bracelet. The 2 round objects in the center are 300-year-old gold and silver hunting case minute repeater watches. They came out, as did the large gems. The gold coins and nuggets were removed from their plastic containers and are now residing in the chest beside the little jar that contains my autobiography. Months later, when the chest was almost full, I added 2 5-inch round pre-Columbian gold mirrors, the Tyrone fetish necklace, and my revered turquoise roe bracelet. Treasure hidden and waiting. Fenn reiterates that the treasure is hidden in the mountains, awaiting discovery. Now the treasure is hidden in the mountains, patiently waiting. 159.pdf. I love your story, Kristen. September 2016. Appreciation for a searcher's experience. Fenn expresses his appreciation for an email from a searcher named Kristen, highlighting why he created the hunt. I love your story, Kristen. Once again, I am reminded of why I wrote the book and hid the treasure. Kristen's inspiring story. Kristen shares her experience of being diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer with a low prognosis, and how the thrill of the chase inspired her and her family to embark on a treasure-hunting adventure in Yellowstone. I discovered your book, The Thrill of the Chase, about a year and a half ago. Not only was I fascinated by your stories, but it also hit close to home. I was 34 and had just recently been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer and told I had a 20% chance of still being here in 5 years. Focus on family and memories. Kristen emphasizes that while they didn't find the treasure, the trip to Yellowstone created lasting memories for her family, which was the true purpose. Needlessly to say, we left with no treasure chest, but that wasn't really the point of the trip anyway. The point of this rambling novel is to thank you. I listened and took your words to heart, and was inspired. My family made memories last week that will last a lifetime. Future adventures planned. Inspired by their Yellowstone trip, Kristen mentions their plans for a future family adventure in Alaska. We've decided Alaska will be our next. 160.pdf. No specific title, date uncertain, likely late 2016. Promotion of a documentary film. Dal shares information and links to a documentary film titled The Lure, expressing gratitude for support and contributions to the film. The film couldn't have been made without your support and contribution, so I'm thrilled to be able to share it with the world. Potential Southwest tour. Dal mentions a possible tour of the Southwest related to the film. We'll be doing a tour of the Southwest at some point, so I'll keep you posted. Call to share information. Readers are encouraged to share the information about the film. In the meantime, feel free to share. 161.pdf. Here is a story from the 1941 Alaska miner. October 2016. Question about porcupine quills. Fenn presents a story from a 1941 Alaska miner newspaper asking whether a porcupine can actually throw its quills. So what do you think? Can a porcupine actually throw his quills or not? Castus's explanation. A response attributed to Castus explains that while porcupines don't actively throw quills, they can become dislodged and fly due to the force of the porcupine swatting its tail. The loose attachment of quills to the skin is also mentioned. A porky swats with his tail, and it stands to reason that if some quills find their mark, other quills would fly, caused by the sudden stop of the said tail. The skin of a porcupine is not attached to the animal's flesh in the same way that a banana is not attached to the peeling, which means the quills are loosely hanging in the skin. Tangential nature. The post seems somewhat random and serves as a brief, perhaps thought-provoking or humorous interlude. 162.pdf. No specific title, October 2016. Fenn's nervousness. Dal prefaces the following letter by noting that Fenn forwarded it with few words, suggesting it made him nervous. Forrest forwarded this to me with few words, which is not like him at all. I think parts of it made him nervous. Dal. Searcher's revised perspective on the book. A searcher who previously praised The Thrill of the Chase now views it as a genius and calculating puzzle with multiple layers, ciphers, and hidden meanings, going beyond a simple collection of anecdotes. Now, I simply think that the piece is genius and calculating, thick with creative license. Remember, nonfiction only has to be 85% accurate, multiple layers and ciphers that redirect the reader to entirely different end points. Belief in hidden clues. The searcher believes that pictures contain hidden letters and numbers, and that the meaning of words can be altered through phonetic readings, reordering, or substitution. Pictures contain hidden letters and numbers. The meaning of words and sentences are altered by either a phonetic reread or a reorder or substitution of letters. Current solve location. The searcher mentions their current solve starting near Hebgen Lake and ending at the Thumb Basin in Yellowstone, acknowledging it might change. Until I can figure out the alphabet, My solve begins by Hebgen Lake and winds up at the Thumb Basin in Yellowstone. Perhaps yet another victim of the butterfly, or perhaps my route will change, but right now it is the path that I'm on. Appreciation for the puzzle. Despite the complexity and their ongoing efforts, the searcher expresses gratitude for the perfect puzzle. Regardless, it is a fun ride, and I just want to thank you for this perfect puzzle. 163.pdf. No specific title, November 2016. Fact-checking of the everlasting Forrest Fenn article. The post discusses the fact-checking process for a California Sunday magazine article about Fenn. It presents the fact-checker's questions and Fenn's factual replies, encouraging readers to compare them to the actual article. The writer, Taylor Clark, visited Santa Fe early in 2016 to interview Forrest. After he wrote the story and his editor approved it for publication, it went to a fact-checker, whose job is to make sure the purported facts in the story are true. Discrepancies and nuances. The exchange reveals some discrepancies or at least nuances in how Fenn recalls or presents certain events compared to the published article, covering topics like his cancer, being shot down, artifact hunting, sales of art, his father's death, his thoughts on dying, the treasure's contents, and the timeline of hiding it. Example, fact-checker. The cancer in your kidney was in more than one spot? Fenn. It was under my kidney embedded in the inferior vena cava. There was just one spot. Example, fact-checker. You've sold moccasins to the Rockefellers and sculptures to the Spielbergs? Fenn. Yes, I sold antique Sioux moccasins to Peggy Rockefeller and Charlie Russell sculpture to Steven Spielberg. Emphasis on interpretation. The post implicitly suggests that even seemingly factual accounts can have different interpretations or levels of precision. 163.5.pdf. No specific title, December 20, 2016. Anniversary of being shot down. Fenn commemorates the 48th anniversary of being shot down in Laos with a touch of dark humor and reflection on his aging body. I am toasting myself with hot chocolate because 48 years ago today I was shot down in Laos and enjoyed all of the fruits such a jungle paradise could provide. Wish to retrieve personal items. He expresses a desire to retrace his steps and retrieve his pistol and Minix camera left behind after his extraction. It would be my hopeful lot to retrace my steps and retrieve my pistol and Minix camera, both of which were unceremonially extracted from my person as I egressed that location. Acceptance of age and limitations. Fenn acknowledges the limitations imposed by his age 86 at the time that might prevent him from fulfilling this wish. But alas, perhaps I shall fail that rendezvous in lieu of, and deference to, demands made by my 86-year-old carcass. Final thought on life. The post concludes with a rhetorical question expressing a somewhat ironic appreciation for life's events. Ain't life grand? Photo. A photo of Forrest flying an F-100 Super Sabre accompanies the post, visually connecting to his anecdote. 164.pdf. Imagination is more fun than knowledge, January 2017. Forrest's poem and Dal's initial reaction. Dal shares a poem sent by Fenn, describing it as pretty delicious, gut-wrenching, and personal, and noting its revelations about war and loss while also concealing much. I don't know how long you worked on that poem, but it is pretty delicious, gut-wrenching, and personal. It's very cool, Forrest. I think it reveals a lot about your feelings about war and loss, but it conceals a great deal as well, and that will be what folks will discuss. Questions about spelling and intentional choices. Dal points out potential typos or intentional alternative spellings in the poem Knowledge, favored, sharpened, and asks about Fenn's intentions. Did you mean to spell knowledge correctly? You have a reputation for your unique spelling of knowledge. Did you intend to use the Brit spelling of favored? Probably so. It works very well. Did you mean sharpened or shaped? Fenn's direct instruction. Fenn's concise reply to Dal's questions is simply, "Leave everything alone," indicating that the specific wording and potential typos are intentional. And here is what Forrest replied: "Leave everything alone." The poem itself. The post includes the full text of Fenn's poem, titled "Imagination is More Fun Than Knowledge," which uses metaphorical language to evoke themes of loss, memory, and imagination, possibly related to war and personal experiences. The poem's ambiguous nature is highlighted by Dall's initial reaction. This briefing document provides a comprehensive overview of the themes and key information presented in the selected scrapbook posts, offering insights into Forrest Fenn's thoughts, experiences, and his engagement with the treasure hunt and its community during this period. Briefing document. Forrest Fenn's blog posts February, May 2017. This briefing document summarizes the main themes, important ideas, and facts presented in Forrest Fenn's blog posts from February to May 2017, as provided in sources 166. PDF through 184.pdf. The posts cover a diverse range of topics, including anecdotes from Fenn's life, reflections on art and collecting, insights into his writing process, and occasional mentions related to the treasure hunt. Personal anecdotes and reflections on life. A significant portion of these blog posts recounts personal stories and reflections from Forrest Fenn's past, offering glimpses into his character, experiences, and values. Dealing with Emotion 166.pdf. This post describes Fenn's experience helping a woman bury a pottery creation symbolizing her divorce. The vivid description of her emotional outburst, "There was yelling and sobbing and singing and screaming maledictions," provides a humorous yet empathetic look at human emotions and coping mechanisms. Early Air Force Days and Boldness 168.pdf. Fenn recounts a story from his time as a young Air Force pilot where he audaciously asked General Russell Spicer to fly his F-86F. The narrative highlights Fenn's early confidence and the unexpected generosity of the general. The takeaway, according to Fenn's boss, was the guts enough to ask him if I could. This anecdote underscores the theme of taking initiative. A Lucky Break in Eunice, Louisiana 169.pdf. This heartwarming story details a time when Fenn, a young PFC, was stranded and short on bus fare. A chance encounter at a church bingo game and the kindness of a bus ticket agent allowed him to return to base. This experience led him to believe, there is no such thing as a self-made man. A Testy Courtroom Moment 170.pdf. Fenn describes his experience as a witness in court, where he stood up to a disrespectful defense attorney and even withdrew his oath. His justification: "I swore to tell the truth and the whole truth. If the defense attorney won't allow me to do that, I must respectfully withdraw my oath." Showcases his commitment to honesty and his willingness to defy convention. The Vivash Ranch and Resilience 182.pdf. This lengthy post details the history and challenges faced by the owners of the Vivash Ranch, including devastating fires. The focus is on their resilience and ingenuity in turning disaster into opportunity, highlighting the human capacity to adapt and rebuild. Fenn emphasizes the shock of witnessing the destruction but also admires their response. When faced with a catastrophic event, the father and son team didn't cry about the dead trees, they cut them down and made plank flooring. Forrest Gist and Artistic Integrity 183.pdf. Fenn shares an anecdote about a potter, Forrest Gist, who would destroy his own creations if they didn't meet his high standards of quality. This story prompts Fenn to reflect on his own brief foray into sculpture and his realization that quality matters in art. Gist's philosophy, wanting quality to be my signature, and if they don't measure up to my standards, I don't want my name on them, resonated with Fenn. The Genesis of House Bronze 184.pdf. This post recounts the unlikely story of how Forrest Fenn's near-death experience in Vietnam indirectly led to the creation of House Bronze Foundry. His friendship with Jerry House, sparked by a shared interest in a muzzleloader, and Fenn's initial bronze casting efforts in his garage, paved the way for Jerry's own successful foundry. The humorous anecdote of testing the muzzleloader with chewing gum and pebbles highlights their early camaraderie. 2. Reflections on art and collecting. Fenn's background as an art dealer and collector is evident in several posts, where he shares insights and stories from the art world. Wilson Hurley and Art Appreciation 170.pdf. Fenn recounts his friendship with artist Wilson Hurley, emphasizing Hurley's talent and interesting background. The Iron Rooster 175.pdf. This humorous anecdote describes Fenn's purchase of 2 cast iron chickens and his wife's reaction, leading to terrible buyer's remorse. The subsequent story of his friend Joanna Arnett's transformation of the rooster into a cherished piece illustrates the subjective nature of art and appreciation. Dr. Gene Scott, An Unconventional Wealth 176. PDF. Fenn shares his experiences with the eccentric preacher and art collector Dr. Gene Scott, highlighting his unique way of acquiring wealth and his appreciation for art. The description of Scott's method of payment, stacks of $100 bills, emphasizes the unusual nature of some art transactions. Robert Henry's Graciela and the Art of Selling 178.pdf. This amusing story details Fenn's attempt to sell a Robert Henry painting he didn't personally like to his discerning client, Pony Alt. Her blunt disapproval. "Is that what you called me down here for, to look at that tang?" And the awkward encounter with Cary Grant highlight the challenges and personalities involved in the art business. Doug Hyde and Western Art 181.pdf. Fenn discusses his long-standing relationship with Native American sculptor Doug Hyde, praising his talent and ethical character. He reflects on the changing landscape of the West and sees a shared sadness in Hyde's sculptures and Henry Farney's painting, The Song of the Singing Wire, capturing a threshold moment. 3. Insights into writing and communication. Fenn also shares his thoughts on writing, language, and his own unique style. Graveyard Logic and Narrative Style 166.pdf. While seemingly a personal anecdote, the detailed storytelling in this post exemplifies Fenn's narrative approach, drawing the reader into the scene. Interview with John Lackman 167.pdf. This interview provides direct insights into Fenn's motivations for the treasure hunt, his perspective on his legacy, and his approach to the poem's clues. Key points include his desire to get kids off their little texting machines and outside to smell the sunshine, his downplaying of bizarre scrapbook entries as attempts to pulling people's legs to make a point, his confirmation that very few people tell me exactly where they are searching, so there is no way for me to know. Some searchers have been within 200 feet. His statement that there are no plans for clues to continue surfacing after his death. His clarification that a hunter needs a good map, the poem, and a decent knowledge of geography, changing words to geography. His assertion that while all clues can theoretically be decoded from home, a searcher must go to the site to find the treasure. His confirmation that the sandwich and flashlight mentions are certainly not clues. His indication that the clues are in the poem, but there are hints in the book. Heck with those guys. Fenn's Writing Philosophy 179.pdf. This post delves into Fenn's unconventional writing style, emphasizing his trial and error approach and his deliberate breaking of traditional rules, particularly regarding punctuation. He states, "It is my prerogative as the writer to decide when I want the reader to pause, not the readers and certainly not the critics." He also discusses his techniques for engaging readers, such as misspellings and intentional ambiguity. 4. Miscellaneous observations and interests. The blog posts also touch upon a variety of other topics reflecting Fenn's wide-ranging interests. Archaeology 171. PDF. Fenn discusses his passion for archaeology and his experience writing a book about his excavations at San Lázaro Pueblo, noting the academic community's resistance to his work as a landowner. He emphasizes the importance of not getting too excited about the little things. Bells 172.pdf. Fenn shares his appreciation for the sound and history of bells, referencing Eric Sloane's book, The Sound of Bells, and noting that the faraway sound of a bell could be both forlorn and soul-stirring. The Prince of the Comancheros 173.pdf. Fenn recounts the story of José Tafoya, a significant figure in the history of the Comanches and the Staked Plains, highlighting a dramatic period of the American West. He also includes a personal anecdote about creating a bronze portrait of Tafoya. Remembering a Fallen Soldier 174.pdf. This post reflects on Fenn's and a friend's search for the burial site of a fallen soldier, Trooper Greg, emphasizing the respect for history and the solemnity of battlegrounds. The Unfortunate Hiccup 180.pdf. This light-hearted anecdote describes an incident at the Masters Golf Tournament where a spectator's disguised drinking habit inadvertently disrupted Sam Snead's putt. The treasure hunt. While not the primary focus, the treasure hunt is mentioned or alluded to in several posts. Meet UPS 2020 February 2020 recurring. This repeated information suggests ongoing interest in and potential planning for events related to the treasure hunt community. Discuss the chase and latest post recurring. These recurring headings indicate the blog's role as a platform for discussion and updates related to the treasure hunt. The specific latest post titles often hint at topics that might indirectly relate to searcher interpretations or ongoing discussions within the community, e.g., The Squirt, The Finder's Story. John Lackman Interview 167.pdf. As detailed above, this interview contains direct information about the clues, searcher progress, and Fenn's intentions regarding the hunt. Overall themes. These blog posts collectively reveal several recurring themes. Storytelling and anecdotes. Fenn frequently uses personal stories to illustrate his points and engage his readers. Appreciation for history and the past. Many anecdotes and reflections center on historical figures, events, and artifacts. Individualism and nonconformity. Fenn's writing style and his stories often highlight a willingness to buck trends and follow his own path. The subjectivity of art and value. Several posts explore the diverse perspectives on art and what makes something valuable. Resilience and adaptability. The story of the Vivash Ranch exemplifies the human capacity to overcome adversity. A playful and engaging tone. Even when discussing serious topics, Fenn often injects humor and maintains a conversational style. This briefing document provides a comprehensive overview of the main content and themes found within the provided sources. It highlights key quotes and information relevant to understanding Forrest Fenn's thoughts, experiences, and perspectives during this period. Briefing document. Forrest Fenn's blog posts 2017 to 2019 date. October 26, 2023 prepared for. Analysis of Forrest Fenn's activities and communications leading up to the discovery of the treasure. Sources. Excerpts from PDF documents 185 through 204, representing blog posts and related content from Forrest Fenn's website, likely through Dal Neitzel's blog. Overview. This briefing document summarizes the main themes, important ideas, and notable facts present in the provided excerpts from Forrest Fenn's blog and related content between November 2017 and August 2019. The content primarily consists of Fenn's personal anecdotes, interactions with treasure searchers, updates on his life, and reflections on various topics. Main themes. Personal life and reflections. Fenn frequently shares updates about his daily life, including the arrival of a new pet. With all of the ill feelings around the world, the future still looks bright when an old man plants small trees and has a new little friend who rests beside him in his lounge chair. Where he is now. 185.pdf. The passing of old friends, a special breed of men narrows with Mickey's passing, and soon it won't exist at all. 186.pdf, and memories from his past. These personal touches provide insight into Fenn's character and his connection to the world around him. Engagement with the treasure hunt community. A significant portion of the content involves Fenn's interactions with searchers. This includes sharing anecdotes of searchers' experiences, both positive and humorous, like Rooster's adventurous but flawed search. 193.pdf, acknowledging their efforts, and occasionally offering gentle guidance or observations. Hopefully all searchers will stay by the fire drinking hot Ovaltine till about May or June. To me, being cold is a lot worse than being hot. All of the Rockies north of SF are now unsearchable to my way of thinking. 194.pdf. Storytelling and reminiscing. Fenn consistently recounts stories from his past, often triggered by current events or conversations. These stories range from encounters with famous figures like Dizzy Dean. I was thrilled even more than when I shook hands with Sammy Baugh. 188.pdf, and George Montgomery highlighting their contrasting personalities and a memorable plane ride. 191.pdf, to more personal and reflective narratives, such as the Sheet episode, with Eric Sloan. 190.pdf, and his childhood memories in West Yellowstone. 204.pdf. The impact of the treasure hunt. Several posts highlight the profound impact the treasure hunt has had on individuals beyond the pursuit of riches. Lee's story. 197 searcher Lee New York.pdf exemplifies this, where the search provided companionship and created lasting memories with a terminally ill friend. How can I ever thank you enough for getting us on that train and creating a wonderful memory that will last into eternity for us? Words don't suffice, but my heart is full. Similarly, Mary's email 201.pdf expresses how her first search helped her rediscover her adventurous spirit. I found a greater treasure just in that day away than the treasure itself could have given me. Humor and personal style. Fenn's writing is characterized by his distinctive voice, often self-deprecating humor about his writing style. I've been criticized for the way I write and use words. I say I too much, mix verb tenses, use commas wrong, and I can't spell. 188.pdf, and a generally positive and engaging tone. Occasional insights into Fenn's character and values. Stories like the one about casting the bronze horse for a young admirer decades later. 189.pdf reveal Fenn's generosity and commitment to his word. Many people are searching for the famous treasure. I feel a responsibility to tell all that I already found the real Forrest Fenn treasure over 45 years ago. Updates and mentions of other searcher activities. The blog also serves as a platform to share stories and achievements of other searchers, such as Gotti Schwartz's Emmy-winning documentary and his continued adventures. 202.pdf, and the rescue of a stranded searcher. 187.pdf. Engagement with his published works. Fenn occasionally references his books, particularly The Thrill of the Chase, Talk, providing context or elaborating on stories mentioned within them, e.g., Mickey Goolsby in relation to page 40 of TFTW. 186.pdf. He also mentions his later book, Once Upon a While. 202.pdf. Most important ideas and facts. Continued engagement. Despite the ongoing nature of the treasure hunt, Fenn remained actively engaged with the searcher community through his contributions to the blog. Human element of the chase. The excerpts strongly emphasize the personal journeys and experiences of the searchers, highlighting the non-monetary rewards of the adventure. Fenn's personal history. His anecdotes provide a richer understanding of his life experiences, relationships, and the events that shaped him. His military service, particularly being shot down in Vietnam. 196.pdf, 198.pdf, is a recurring and significant part of his history. Sense of community. The blog fostered a sense of community among searchers, allowing them to share their stories and experiences, often with Fenn's acknowledgement. Passage of time. Fenn's reflections on aging, the loss of friends, and the changing world are evident throughout the posts. Seasonal considerations for searching. Fenn explicitly advised searchers about the dangers of winter conditions in the Rockies 194. PDF. Support and appreciation. Fenn consistently expresses gratitude for those who share their stories and contribute to the blog. Quotes highlighting key ideas. Impact of the chase. I finally ran away from home for 25 hours. 25 hours of sheer hell. Hell of my very own making. I did see a moose and found a tin can sculpture, so I can probably subtract 15 minutes from my hell. Rooster's humorous account. 193.pdf. Fenn's personal connection to the past. Today I look around at me and rue so many things I see. Maybe it will help if we recall the way they used to be. Introduction to the Sheet episode. 190.pdf. Generosity. Looking back on all of this, there was no gain in it for Mr. Fenn. And Mr. Fenn never asked for anything in return. Recounting the Bronze Horse story. 189.pdf. Reflections on mortality. Today, half a century ago, you rose up from below, shot down from the sky, yet once again you did fly. Poem from Nelica on the anniversary of being shot down. 196.pdf. Value beyond the treasure. I found a greater treasure just in that day away than the treasure itself could have given me. Mary's experience. 201.pdf. Conclusion. These blog post excerpts offer a valuable glimpse into Forrest Fenn's life and his relationship with the treasure hunting community in the years leading up to the eventual discovery. They reveal a man who was not only the orchestrator of a grand adventure, but also a keen observer of human nature, a nostalgic storyteller, and someone who genuinely appreciated the impact his endeavor had on others. The content underscores that the thrill of the chase often extended far beyond the potential for material wealth, fostering personal growth, connection, and memorable experiences for many. Briefing document. Forrest Fenn blog post review September-October 2019. This briefing document summarizes the main themes, ideas, and notable facts presented in a series of Forrest Fenn's blog posts dated September and October 2019. The posts, numbered 205 through 220, cover a diverse range of topics, including personal anecdotes, reflections on life and death, art collecting experiences, and subtle hints related to his hidden treasure. Overarching themes. Nostalgia and reflection. Many posts delve into Fenn's past, recounting memories of friends, family, and significant life events. This reflects a broader theme of looking back and appreciating the experiences that have shaped him. Appreciation for art and history. Fenn's passion for art, particularly Western art and Native American artifacts, remains a prominent theme. He shares stories about acquiring pieces, his relationships with artists and collectors, and his efforts to preserve historical items. Generosity and relationships. Fenn frequently highlights acts of kindness he has both received and extended to others. The importance of genuine connections and positive interactions is evident in many of his narratives. Independent spirit and nonconformity. Several posts showcase Fenn's tendency to act on his own terms, often defying expectations or conventional norms. This independent streak seems to be a core part of his personality. Subtle hints and engagement with the treasure hunt. While not explicitly about the treasure hunt in most cases, certain anecdotes or asides could be interpreted as subtle hints or attempts to engage with the searchers. Key ideas and facts from specific posts. Post 205. Meeting Greg Perino. Fenn recounts meeting Greg Perino, an expert on Native American lithics, in 1970 after retiring from the Air Force. He describes Perino as the American expert on lithics and associated artifacts, and notes that he wrote the best books on North American stone projectile typology. The William R. Lee Goat, A memorable anecdote details finding items belonging to Western artist William R. Lee in a garbage can behind the Gilcrease Museum. Among these items was a 3-inch rubber goat that Perino positively identified as Lee's. Perino's strong reaction: "What $$ hashtag at and tossed this model in the garbage?" led Fenn to offer to cast the goat in bronze, making copies for Perino and museum board members. Early bronze casting. Fenn describes his rudimentary bronze casting setup in his garage using a vacuum cleaner motor for air pressure. He successfully cast the goat and a nameplate. Selling bronzes and a Pony Express buckle. Fenn mentions selling bronze casts to a woman, including the goat and buffaloes by George Dabbich. He also recalls centrifugally casting a Pony Express belt buckle in sterling silver for someone else. Post 207. Biography of Joseph Henry Sharp. Fenn discusses his first biography, The Beat of the Drum and the Whoop of the Dance, about painter Joseph Henry Sharp, which he was writing around 1982. He expresses a deep connection to Sharp, stating, "I am drawn to Mr. Sharp like smell is drawn to a daffodil," acknowledging the unfortunate comment. Sharp's cabin and the hammer. Fenn recounts purchasing Sharp's 1905 cabin on the Crow Indian Reservation in Montana for $15,000 in 1984 and subsequently gifting it to the Buffalo Bill Historical Center in Cody, Wyoming. He made 2 rules. The museum had to pick it up intact, and any items under the floorboards had to remain. A claw hammer was found under the floorboards. Rearranging tradition. Fenn describes retrieving the hammer from a museum storage area and reburying it under the cabin, feeling it was horribly out of context. He notes, "Sometimes you have to just grab a misplaced tradition by the tail and rearrange it back like it's supposed to be." Treasure location disclaimer. In the author's notes, Fenn explicitly states, "My treasure chest is not associated with any structure, and it has not been retrieved or moved since I first hid it." He also confirms via an email excerpt that the treasure is not hidden at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West or any property owned by them. Post 208. Ode to Edard. Fenn pays tribute to his close friend Edard, who recently passed away at age 89. He shares anecdotes spanning 83 years of friendship, including their time in the Air Force together and memorable high school antics. Shared experiences. He recounts a humorous story of getting sick from chewing tobacco during a football game and having to run extra laps as punishment, which they turned into a victory. Reflection on mortality. Fenn acknowledges Edard's understanding that his tenure on this planet was finally fading. He chooses to smile and remember the many good times we had, instead of mourning. Political offset. Fenn mentions being born 10 days after George Soros in the same hospital. Post 209. Soul Fairies Bred in Chaos. Fenn describes 2 unique objects in his collection with exaggerated personalities that he finds persuasive. He wonders if they are soul fairies bred in chaos, demoted angels, nascent beings. What? Trickery and taunting. He notes their armatures are made of spring wire, giving them a tendency for trickery as they lean back at a nervous angle, as if were ordained to taunt me or protect me. Intricate details. Their clothing is made of diverse materials, and they are adorned with ancient beads and hidden silent fetishes. Everything on them is permanently attached, including an ancient Afghani turquoise necklace. Post 210. Canonito Church Painting. Fenn describes a painting by Joseph Sestmir Svoboda, 1889 to 1953, titled Canoncito Church at Apache Canyon, that hangs near his kitchen door. Acquisition from the artist's daughter. He acquired this sweet little painting from Svoboda's daughter, Olga, over green tea and Oreos. Svoboda's background. Fenn provides background on Svoboda's life, including his studies at the Art Institute of Chicago and his association with the Taos Society of Artists through Walter Ufer. Post 211. Requiem for a Wreck. Fenn humorously recounts accidentally hitting a box elder tree while fiddling with the radio in his Jeep, damaging the passenger side mirror housing. Denial and secrecy. He went into denial and secretly disposed of the broken pieces, noting that, even to this day, no one has noticed the damage, and I'm not talking. Newfound freedom. The incident sparks a reflection on taking more control of his life and making his own decisions, including refusing to eat certain vegetables and jokingly considering getting a piercing. Post 212. Arthur Rubloff experience. Fenn shares memories of Arthur Rubloff, a prominent real estate developer and art collector, from the 1970s when Fenn's Santa Fe gallery was thriving. He describes Rubloff as personifying aristocracy in its finest moment, displaying the Massasoit bronze. He recounts convincing Rubloff to display a bronze sculpture of Massasoit at his mall as a gift to the shoppers, using the example of a well-patinated grizzly bronze at the Denver Natural History Museum. Champagne and pheasant under glass. Fenn details a memorable lunch with Rubloff in his office, complete with champagne and pheasant under glass, arranged by Rubloff's secretary, who overheard their limo conversation. Rubloff's paperweight collection. A question about Rubloff's promised paperweight collection to the Art Institute led to a one-sided conversation filled with names Fenn didn't recognize. Post 213. New things that turn into old ones. Fenn describes his current history kick and his unique way of influencing the future by preserving fallen leaves. Creating historical artifacts. He collects prettiest newly fallen leaves, writes the plant type, date, and his name on them with a felt-tip pen, and then places them inside books to dry for future discovery. Encouraging others. He encourages readers to do the same, emphasizing, "Please don't underestimate your importance." What fun it would be to find an old book with a leaf that George Washington had signed. Post 214. Friendship with John Connolly. Fenn recounts his friendship with John Connolly, who was a powerful figure during the Nixon administration, but whose political career was ruined by the Watergate scandal. Connolly's trial and doodles. He mentions Connolly's conviction for conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and perjury, and his 18-month prison sentence. Fenn describes Connolly's courtroom doodles, noting their historical importance as they revealed the thoughts of a very important man on trial for serious crimes. Publishing Connolly's doodles. Fenn's idea to publish the doodles in a leather-bound book with gilded edges and a slipcase, each containing an original doodle, is detailed. He acknowledges anticipating financial loss, but proceeded with the project. Indemnification refusal. A humorous anecdote recounts Fenn's attorney warning him of a potential lawsuit due to the book's content, including a drawing of a woman's leg and potentially other captions. When Fenn asked Connolly to indemnify him, Connolly abruptly refused. Post 215. Creative employee retention. Fenn discusses his strategies for employee retention at his gallery, focusing on rewarding exceptional performance. The Mary Lou story. He shares a detailed story about taking a valued employee, Mary Lou, to lunch and then to a shoe store where he told her to pick out anything she wanted as a surprise. Later, as an incentive to stay, he offered her half interest in an Eric Sloane painting. When the painting sold, she received $7,500, cementing their relationship. Extending the technique. Fenn mentions using similar techniques with other employees, both Mary Louse and Billy Bobs, leading to his nickname Daddy Warbucks. Hiring Louise and Grace. He contrasts this with his decisions to hire Louise, despite her messy home, for sales due to her outgoing personality, and Grace, a kind and reliable Spanish lady who became like family and stayed for 42 years. He still provides Grace with her salary in retirement. Celebrity encounters. Fenn reflects on his 17 years in the Santa Fe art scene, noting that celebrities he met were just plain old people who had a highly specialized talent. Post 216. Relentless pursuit of sharp etchings. Fenn recounts his determined efforts in the early 1980s to research Joseph Henry Sharp's etchings while writing his first biography. The mysterious photo. A pivotal moment involved a Natalie-dressed man showing him a photo of a Sharp etching, which Fenn was previously unaware of. The logo on the back, John Whitaker Photography, Cincinnati, Ohio, became a crucial lead. Uncovering the plates. After numerous phone calls and dead ends, Fenn eventually located 16 original Sharp etching plates with an elderly woman in Indiana. The purchase. He traveled to meet her, accompanied by her attorney, and purchased all 16 plates for $5,000 each, totaling $80,000, shocking both the woman and her lawyer. Preservation and legacy. Fenn and his gallery printed etchings on special paper with a hidden watermark and later donated the 16 original plates to the Buffalo Bill Historical Center with the stipulation that no more copies be printed. He notes he has one etching left, a portrait of White Swan, with whom he shares deafness. Post 217. Verdun Battlefield. Fenn shares a photo he took in 1958 of a small part of the Verdun battlefield, the site of a long and devastating battle in World War I. Danger and ordnance. He notes that the area was still dangerous due to landmines and unexploded ordnance, and civilians were prohibited. Air Force Gunnery Range. Fenn recounts his time as a range officer for a gunnery range used by his fighter squadron stationed in Germany, located on a narrow cleared road through the battlefield. He describes the occasional explosions caused by strafing aircraft hitting buried ordnance, echoing the past conflict. Post 218. Kids' Toys. Fenn shares an old photo of himself as a young boy with his brother Skippy in their backyard in Temple. Lost toy car. He expresses nostalgia for a toy car in the photo, wondering what happened to great toys when children outgrow them, speculating they are probably just thrown in the dump. Family memories. He points out a swing his mother suggested, hanging from a grape arbor built by his father. Post 219. Chili cookout at Christ Church. Fenn enthusiastically describes attending a chili cookout at Christ Church in Santa Fe, highlighting the friendly atmosphere and welcoming pastors. 22 chilies. He details the impressive array of 22 different kinds of chili, noting his preference for a pasta chili, despite it likely upsetting chili purists. Community and fun. He enjoys the other food offerings, costumed children, and the overall fun and community spirit of the event, expressing a potential interest in attending the church more regularly. Antique car show. On his way to and from the church, he observed an antique car show, commenting on a very low silver car and his favorite, a striking blue 1956 Ford Thunderbird. He contrasts these with his own dirty Jeep Grand Cherokee. Post 220. Armand Hammer's philosophy. Fenn quotes Armand Hammer. Every great happening begins with a benevolent gesture, and states that he made it one of his rules. The Joe Singer story. This post illustrates that philosophy through the story of Joe Singer and Richard Fleischhaker, oil company owners who visited Fenn's gallery after seeing his small opera bulletin ad featuring a painting Fenn titled Forgotten. Initial generosity. Fenn recounts his spontaneous generosity towards Singer's wives and Addie, telling them to pick out any Indian jewelry they wanted as a gift. Building relationships. This act of kindness led to a strong connection with Joe and Richard, who were touched by Fenn's treatment. Significant art purchase. The next day, Joe and Richard purchased a substantial amount of art, including Forgotten, totaling around $265,000. A memorial donation. Later, Fenn facilitated Joe Singer's purchase of 4 Walter Ufer paintings and suggested he donate the 2 larger ones to the National Cowboy Hall of Fame in memory of his son who died in Vietnam. Negotiating with Dean Crockle. Fenn humorously recounts his strategic negotiation with Dean Crockle, the museum director, to ensure the donation went through, ultimately leading to a successful outcome and a memorial display for Singer's son. Potential implications for the treasure hunt. While the majority of these posts are anecdotal, searchers might look for subtle connections or recurring themes that could relate to the treasure hunt. For instance, the significance of locations. Mentions of specific places like the Crow Indian Reservation, the Little Bighorn River, and Santa Fe might prompt some to reconsider areas. However, Fenn's explicit disclaimer about the treasure not being at the Buffalo Bill Center is a direct piece of information. The importance of observation. Fenn's detailed observations of people, objects, and events in his stories could encourage searchers to pay close attention to details in their surroundings. The value of history and art. His continued focus on historical figures and artwork reinforces their potential relevance, though direct connections remain elusive. The theme of misplaced or hidden items. The stories of the goat in the garbage and the hammer under the cabin floor might be interpreted metaphorically. Conclusion. These blog posts offer a glimpse into Forrest Fenn's personal history, his passions, and his engaging storytelling style. While not explicitly focused on the treasure hunt, they provide further insight into his character and the types of experiences and reflections that are meaningful to him. The direct disclaimer regarding the treasure's location at the Buffalo Bill Center is a significant piece of information for searchers to note. Briefing document. Review of Forrest Fenn blog posts October-November 2019 date. October 26, 2023 Prepared by Gemini AI subject. Review of recent blog posts by Forrest Fenn. This briefing document summarizes the main themes, important ideas, and interesting facts presented in a series of blog posts by Forrest Fenn, primarily dated October and November 2019. The posts cover a diverse range of topics, reflecting Fenn's personal history, interests, and anecdotes. Overall themes. Nostalgia and reflection. Many posts involve Fenn reminiscing about his past, sharing memories from his time in the military, his early life with his wife Peggy, his experiences in the art world, and encounters with interesting individuals. Personal anecdotes and storytelling. Fenn's writing style is characterized by personal anecdotes, often with a humorous or insightful twist. He shares seemingly simple stories that reveal aspects of his character, his relationships, and his perspectives on life. Appreciation for history and artifacts. Fenn's passion for historical artifacts, particularly those related to Native American culture and the Old West, is evident throughout the posts, as is his experience as a collector and gallery owner. Observations on human nature. Through his stories, Fenn often subtly comments on human behavior, motivations, and interactions, ranging from petty grievances to acts of kindness and deception. The shadow of the treasure hunt. While the treasure hunt isn't the explicit focus of these particular posts, the ongoing nature of the search is subtly present in the background, particularly in the latest post and most recent comments sections which mention the finder's story and Forrest gone forever, indicating a period surrounding the discovery of the treasure. Key ideas and facts from specific posts. October 2019, Us and Mexico Beach from 221.pdf. Fenn recounts his time stationed at Tyndall AFB, Florida, in 1954 while learning to fly the F-86D. He describes renting a small house in Mexico Beach with Peggy, highlighting the proximity to the Gulf and a temperamental freshwater lake behind their property. An anecdote illustrates Fenn's mischievous side when he creates a maniac river to inconvenience tourists who took his seashells. How dare do those guys do that without my permission and in broad sunlight? He mentions the financial constraints of a young lieutenant's pay and Peggy fishing to help make ends meet. Undated from 222.pdf. Fenn shares a heartwarming story about sending a prehistoric Zuni fetish to a friend named Addie before a serious back surgery. He emphasizes the importance of faith. Please keep it in your hand during the operation. It will work for you if you have faith. He also includes a postscript. P.S. It is important that you have faith. Addie's subsequent letter expresses her recovery and credits the fetish. Not only am I playing golf with the girls again, but today I made a birdie on the 4th hole. That never happened to me before. I want you to know that I went into the operation with your fetish in my left hand. I had the nurse tape it closed so it couldn't fall out when I was asleep. I had faith in it, and the doctor said it probably helped me. November 2019 Pansies on the West Fork from 223.pdf. Fenn shares a photograph of himself with his father and Mike Hall at the West Fork Cabin Camp near the confluence of the West Fork of the Madison River and the Madison River. He recalls a trip to the Charlie Russell Riders event in the Bob Marshall Wilderness, noting his enjoyment of the fishing but disliking the crowds. An amusing anecdote involves Bob Dunn's horse kicking a hornet's nest. He recounts getting lost while flying between Denver and Santa Fe due to low clouds and lack of GPS, eventually orienting himself by spotting the Great Sand Dunes National Park. November 2019 3 sevens and a vacuum cleaner from 224.pdf. Fenn describes his temporary stay in the bachelor officer's quarters at Bitburg Air Base in 1957 while awaiting Peggy's arrival. He narrates a disagreement with Peggy over purchasing a $19.95 vacuum cleaner due to budget constraints. A temporary duty assignment to Wheelus Air Base in Libya provides the backdrop for a poker-playing experience. He details the harsh environment, including the Ghibli sandstorms. Fenn explains his disciplined approach to poker, based on studying odds in Hoyle's Book of Odds and adhering to rules like, never ever play a hunch and don't bluff again after you've been caught bluffing. A pivotal poker game against his superior officer, Major Davis, leads to Fenn winning enough money to buy Peggy the vacuum cleaner, and surprisingly, also results in a favorable efficiency report and promotion to captain. Undated from 226.pdf. This brief excerpt presents a hypothetical scenario of burglars breaking into Fenn's home, highlighting a no-win situation regarding calling the police. He includes a story about a man who claimed to have shot burglars after being told police were unavailable, suggesting a cynical view of law enforcement response times. November 2019, Enter King Beowulf from 227.pdf. Fenn introduces Beowulf, an alligator who lived in the pond behind their art gallery. He describes his routine of feeding Beowulf beef liver and his interactions with the alligator, noting its generally docile behavior despite occasional suspicions of eating ducks. He recounts an incident where a catfish was the likely culprit for a missing duckling. Fenn details Beowulf's custom-built winter home, with heating and a transparent roof, emphasizing the comfortable life the alligator enjoyed. Beowulf's story ends with the sale of the gallery, and the alligator being seen chasing a dog, leading to his removal from the property. Undated from 228.pdf. Fenn reflects on the deacquisitioning of their art collection, mentioning reluctantly selling a piece called Alexandra to a billionaire for a significant profit, though he felt he sold it too cheap by not considering intrinsic value. He shares a personal anecdote about Alexandra nicknamed Tinkerbell Tinka, who was married to the artist Fetchin. He recounts an incident where Fetchin, demanding silence while painting, flung a painting across the room, hitting and injuring Alexandra. November 2019 Medicinal Mojo Necklace from 229.pdf. Fenn describes acquiring thousands of antique Venetian, Dutch, and French glass trade beads around 1973 to 74. He recounts his fascination with the beads and his eventual realization that writing a comprehensive book about them was too complex. He details creating mojo necklaces from these beads, incorporating other old and authentic items like coral spacers, a German coin, a projectile point, and a rattlesnake vertebra. For each item on the necklace, Fenn provides a humorous diagnostic medical description attributed to Sissoko, the African man who brought him the beads. For example, the red peaking bead helps reduce your blood pressure when the witch next door takes your parking spot. November 2019. And then there was this Rondo guy from 230.pdf. Fenn narrates a series of coin-flipping encounters with a man named Rondo, an antique shop owner with a personality Fenn found too cool. He recounts losing $100 in a single flip and then devising a plan to rearrange his karma by being positive and forcing Rondo to be negative during subsequent flips. Fenn details his strategy, including using his own quarter, instructing Rondo to flip, and mentally willing the outcome. He describes a winning streak after finding a buffalo nickel with his birth date, viewing it as a sign of positive karma. The story concludes with Rondo's shop being closed down, and Fenn expressing a willingness to help him if he ever needs money. November 2019, Yazzie Yarnell dolls from 231.pdf. Fenn seeks information about dolls supposedly made by a Hopi, possibly Navajo Indian, named Yazzie Yarnell around 1900. He describes the unique features of the dolls, including their large size up to 43 inches, real horns on an antelope figure, and the incorporation of genuine historical artifacts. He mentions acquiring 14 of the 28 dolls believed to have been made and asks treasure hunters to contact him if they encounter any of the remaining ones. November 2019, Revenge is best served hot from 232.pdf. Fenn recounts attending a gun show in Snyder, Texas, in 1967 with his friend Bill Griggs. He describes finding a Navajo-made holster for his Colt 1860 Model Army pistol, but losing it when the dealer, Bob Algie, sold it to another customer despite Fenn's intention to buy it. Feeling wronged, Fenn later enacts a form of revenge when Bob brings him an art object made by his wife Hilda to be cast in bronze. Fenn secretly adds $50 to the cost of each casting, recouping his perceived loss 30-fold. November 2019, Prehistoric Corn from 233.pdf. Fenn paraphrases a story from his book, The Secrets of San Lázaro Pueblo, about an archaeological discovery. While having lunch in a room at the Pueblo, a round piece of flagstone under his soup cup sounds hollow. Upon investigation with his digging companion Charme, they discover a buried black pottery jar containing a dragonfly-painted bowl filled with corn kernels, adding to their understanding of prehistoric life at the Pueblo. November 2019, Hot on the Trail from 234.pdf. Fenn shares his admiration for the Western writer and historian J. Evans Haley, highlighting Haley's book critical of Lyndon Johnson. He recounts Haley's interest in John Marchand's painting, The Trail Drivers of Texas, which was displayed in Fenn's gallery. Haley offers to buy the painting if Fenn can find him a first edition of the book with the same title. Fenn visits his friend, the antiquarian book dealer Fred Rosenstock, in Denver to find the book. He describes a humorous encounter where Fred shrewdly buys a rare book from a disheveled man for a low price, intending to restore and resell it at a significant profit. Undated from 235.pdf. Fenn tells the story of a stray cat his sister June adopted and named Bobby McGee. He describes the cat's unusual physical characteristics, suggesting it was a mix of bobcat and alley cat. He recounts a night when Bobby McGee, while catching lightning bugs, suddenly heard a distant wail and instinctively disappeared into the darkness, implying a powerful, possibly wild connection. November 2019. It was 41 years ago next month that Bill Oakton came to see me and took this photo from 236.pdf. Fenn recalls an interview with Bill Oakton, a writer for the New Mexico Business Journal, in December 1978. He describes Oakton's initial perception of art as a hobby and his surprise at the high prices in Fenn's gallery. Fenn recounts a humorous exchange with Oakton about his motivation for being in the art business, stating, "No, art is a business to me. and using the analogy of a dry cleaner not needing to love dirty clothes. The interview resulted in 2 articles about Fenn in the magazine, focusing on the business aspect of his art dealings. November 2019, earthenware bowl from 237.pdf. Fenn describes an 18-inch earthenware bowl made in Granada, Spain, around 1850, which has been in his collection for over 40 years. He details its galena blue and green glazed decorations and the presence of a snarling animal figure. The bowl was broken and repaired in semi-ancient times with 26 iron pins, requiring 52 drilled holes. Fenn notes the heavy rust on the pins, suggesting the bowl continued to be used for many years after repair. He mentions purchasing it for $725, stating he wouldn't have wanted it without the repairs, as they add to its value over time. November 2019, Paul Dyke and me from 238.pdf. Fenn pays tribute to his friend and compadre Paul Dyke, a painter and authority on Plains Indian culture. He recounts Dyke's early life in Europe, his marriage to Fawn on Elk of the Lakota people, and his adoption into the family of One Bull, Sitting Bull's adopted son. He shares One Bull's denial of killing Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn. Fenn describes Dyke's artistic talent earning him the Sioux name Rainbow Hand, his work at Mount Rushmore, and his impressive collection of antique Plains Indian material. He mentions Dyke's book Brule, and his academic recognition. The post concludes with a touching image of Dyke finding solace with his buffalo after the death of his third wife, Jean Starr. November 2019, New Life from an Old Body from 239.pdf. Fenn contrasts 2 photographs of the same juniper tree at San Lazaro Pueblo, one from 1914 showing it healthy, and another taken by him showing it as a weathered stump. He explains that the tree's limbs were cut off, likely for fence building. About 20 years prior to the post, Fenn brought the dead juniper tree home, where it now rests under a growing pinyon tree. He reflects on the slow decomposition of juniper wood and his planting of juniper berries near the old tree, hoping its decay will nourish a new generation of juniper growth on his property, in accordance with building covenants. Conclusion: these blog posts offer a fascinating glimpse into the personal world and experiences of Forrest Fenn in the period leading up to and around the confirmed discovery of his hidden treasure. They showcase his engaging storytelling, his deep appreciation for history and artifacts, his relationships with interesting individuals, and his reflections on life's various moments, both big and small. While the treasure hunt itself is largely implicit, the context of its nearing conclusion adds another layer of interest to these nostalgic and reflective narratives. Briefing document. Review of Forrest Fenn's blog posts November 2019 to April 2020. This briefing document summarizes the main themes, important ideas, and facts presented in the provided excerpts from Forrest Fenn's blog posts, spanning from November 2019 to April 2020. Quotes from the original sources are included where appropriate. Overall themes. Reflections on the past and friendship. Several posts delve into Forrest's memories of friends and past experiences, offering glimpses into his life and values. The treasure hunt. While the hunt is not the central focus of every post, it remains a consistent backdrop, with occasional direct or indirect mentions. Observations on life and nature. Forrest shares his appreciation for the natural world and offers his perspectives on current events and human nature. Sharing personal history and interests. The posts reveal aspects of Forrest's personal life, including his home, collections, and relationships. Impact of external events. COVID-19. Later posts address the emerging COVID-19 pandemic and its implications for the treasure hunt. Key ideas and facts from specific posts. November 2019. Paul Dyke and me 238.pdf. This post is a tribute to Forrest's friend Paul Dyke, an authority on buffalo culture, and a collector of Plains Indian artifacts. Forrest recounts their friendship, Dyke's life experiences including living among the Lakota and knowing one bull, Sitting Bull's adopted son, and Dyke's unique perspective on the Custer fight. Quote, Paul Dyke was my friend and compadre. Although he was 13 years my senior, I would like to have passed through some of his life adventures at his side. Fact, Dyke was a painter named Rainbow Hand by the Sioux and authored the book Brule. Fact, Forrest videotaped a lengthy interview with Dyke around 2004. New Life from an Old Body 239.pdf. This post reflects on the cycle of life and nature using the metaphor of an old juniper tree that Forrest rescued. He contrasts a 1914 photo of the healthy tree with its later, damaged state and his decision to bring it home. He then planted juniper berries near it, symbolizing renewal. Quote, Sometime after 1914, someone cut all of its arms off, probably for no greater gain than to build a fence. It must have been a painful experience because an axe was used to do the cutting. Idea, even in decay, the old can nourish the new. The Power of Dance 240.pdf. Forrest recounts witnessing a sun dance ceremony with his wife Peggy in Lodge Grass, Montana, while visiting their friend Joe Medicine Crow. He emphasizes the sacredness of the event and their respectful observation. He also notes the surprising fact that 6 of the 7 dancers were white men. Quote, An Indian woman thanked us for coming, and we spoke for just a minute. I asked her why 6 of the 7 dancers were white men. She said, When the white man cannot find what he needs in his own religion, he come to us. Fact, they were smudged cleansed with sweetgrass before watching the dance. Oldenwood 241.pdf. Forrest describes his appreciation for aged wood and showcases an 18th-century Spanish colonial chest and a 7.14-inch Bulto religious statue that once belonged to Don Pedro Don Baptista Pino. He then poses a hypothetical scenario related to the treasure hunt, suggesting he might hide the chest containing $880 in silver dollars for children 16 and under to find in the New Mexico Rocky Mountains, north of Santa Fe and closer than 8.25 miles from town, in a location protected from the weather. Quote, Ideally, I would hide it somewhere in the New Mexico Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe, but nearer than 8.25 miles from town. Then invite kids 16 years old and younger to go search for it. It can't be out in the weather. What would you do with it? Idea. This suggests a potential future treasure hunt specifically for children. Related cultures? 242.pdf. This post compares and contrasts artifacts from 2 geographically distant ancient cultures. A Sinagua pottery pitcher from Arizona approximately 1,200 years old, and a Chankay anthropomorphic figure from coastal Peru. Forrest highlights similarities and differences in their artistic styles, particularly the placement of facial features. Quote about the Sinagua lady. Dal thinks she's ugly, but what does he know about little old pottery ladies? He probably thinks her nose is too high on her face, and it is by today's standards. But in her day, 1,200 years ago, she was right in the middle of what was culturally vogue. I remember Bip, 243.pdf. This deeply personal post is a loving tribute to Forrest's dachshund Bip. He recounts anecdotes illustrating their close bond, including Bip's mysterious journey home in Lubbock, their frantic return from the Amazon when Bip was attacked, and the creation of Bip's fictional autobiography. The post culminates in Bip's passing and burial. Quote, He was as close to me as anything could be, my arm for instance. Fact, Bip's fictional autobiography, Bip, was written with a friend's assistance and illustrated by Eric Sloan in a single copy. Quote, Why do we arbitrarily believe things that we've been told? Just because someone said it doesn't make it true. This reflection arises from his grief and questioning of the finality of death. December 2019. Eric's Humor 244.pdf. Forrest shares a humorous anecdote about his friendship with artist Eric Sloane. He recounts giving Sloane a painting by Leon Gaspard and Sloane's witty response of creating a companion painting of the same subject writing away, highlighting Sloane's martini-style humor. Quote, "Another typically looking Leon Gaspard painting with Eric Sloane martini-style humor. Eric's funny part 245.pdf. This post continues the theme of Forrest's friendship with Eric Sloane, focusing on Sloane's deep appreciation for wood. Forrest recounts Sloane's frustration when carpenters mistakenly used his treasured weathered boards as joists. He also describes receiving Sloane's paint mixing board as a gift, complete with a painting and a paintbrush. Quote from Sloane's book, "One day we were flying over the New England countryside. Someday soon, I said, I must do a book about trees and wood. Down below, the wooded hills were just turning to their autumn colors, and the shadow of our plane raced across a sea of crimson and russet." Fact: Forrest's dedication in his book $17 a Square Inch was a tribute to Eric Sloane's memory. The Promise of a Dream 246.pdf. Forrest reflects on his past aspirations, noting how some seemingly distant dreams writing books, having a poem and painting published came to fruition through effort. He mentions his newly printed children's book, Educating Artie, limited to 100 copies for family and containing no treasure clues, an oil painting titled As the Bugle Blows, and a country song called Cold Coffee in a Hot Cup. Quote, "Many years ago, when I was being wistful about what was ahead for me, I dreamed above my probabilities." Fact: Educating Artie was printed in only 100 copies and is not for sale. Wherever the Bugle Blows 247.pdf. This post recounts Forrest's two experiences of being shot down during the Vietnam War and the extensive search and rescue efforts that saved his life. He expresses his humility, pride, and honor regarding the resources and risks taken for his rescue. He then connects this to a concern for the strength of the U.S. military today. Fact: Forrest was shot down on August 24, 1968, and again 119 days later. Idea: This post underscores Forrest's patriotism and his respect for the military. January 2020. The Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone 248.pdf. Forrest shares a vivid memory from his teenage years of a difficult and uncomfortable fishing trip with his friend Donnie into the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River below the lower falls. He describes the challenging terrain and his vow never to do it again. Quote, "It was tantamount to climbing the Washington Monument with loose rocks on each step." March 2020. Scrapbook 249. 249.pdf. This post reflects a shift in tone due to the emerging COVID-19 pandemic. Forrest describes a pleasant stroll in his yard as a contrast to the tough situation downtown and around the country. He shares his past experiences with other significant global events: the Great Depression, wars, AIDS epidemic, and expresses optimism about overcoming the current crisis through unity and resilience. He emphasizes staying home. Quote, "During my almost 90 years I've seen the Great Depression, a few wars, and the AIDS epidemic. They were all terrible, and for many long months some folks thought they were world-ending events. But they weren't. We worked our way through them by banding together and gutting down. We'll do the same with this virus thing too. That's why I'm so optimistic about the future." Scrapbook 250. 250.pdf. Forrest directly addresses the treasure hunters, acknowledging the early spring weather in Santa Fe as potentially deceptive. He notes the colder and snowy conditions in West Yellowstone, a known search area. He explicitly suggests thinking about June 1st as a potential time for BOTG boots on the ground, hinting at a possible delay or reconsideration of search efforts due to the pandemic. He reiterates the importance of staying home for safety. Quote, "For those whose solve is in the north, please know that West Yellowstone is expecting snow tonight and 24 degrees. That's burr time for everything but polar bears. Let's think about June 1st for BOTG. Scrapbook 251. 251.pdf. This post contains a clear and direct message to treasure hunters. Attention treasure hunters, because of the virus, it is time to rethink the search. Forrest strongly urges searchers to stay home, citing mandates from mayors, governors, and the president. He acknowledges that job losses might motivate people to search, but emphasizes the importance of waiting until things improve, warning, "It is really easy to be sorry, and it lasts a long time." Quote, "In these dire times, every logic and street sense says stay at home. Mayors and governors have mandated it, and so has the president. Much of the search areas in all 4 states are closed." April 2020. Scrapbook 252. 252.pdf. Forrest offers a more hopeful message, stating, "Hello everyone, the world we used to know is coming back, and hopefully it will happen soon." He shares a link to a video he enjoyed and encourages readers to reach out to acquaintances. This post serves as his email to his readers, fostering connection during isolation. Additional insights from wallacebeery.pdf. Likely late 2019, early 2020 based on surrounding context. This post features an email exchange between Forrest and a person named Frank regarding memories of West Yellowstone in 1938. Forrest shares his own recollections of working at the Skaggs Market in the 1940s and an encounter with the famous actor Wallace Beery. Quote Forrest, "One time Wallace Beery came in. He was a famous movie star who I recognized, and the uncle of Noah Beery Jr., who was more famous in the movies. Wallace wanted to buy some .22 caliber bullets, which were rationed during the war. I wouldn't sell them to him because he didn't have any coupons. That made him really mad, and I thought he was going to hit me." Fact: Forrest and his friend Skippy also made a bear trap in their youth. Idea: this post provides nostalgic anecdotes about Forrest's childhood and life in West Yellowstone. Additional insights from Scrapbook 254. Context suggests it falls within the later period. This post reflects on the nature of a combat pilot, using Forrest as an example. It suggests a duality within him: pride in his skills and regret for the consequences of war. It mentions a gun camera film from his Vietnam missions and his personal flight logs. Quote, "I believe he was proud of his skillful ability to destroy enemy targets, and at the same time, regretful of the inevitable pain and death to civilians that came with his best efforts." Forrest was both a realist and a humanitarian. When watching the evening news with him, I would often hear him whisper, "Why can't we all just get along?" Fact: Forrest kept detailed mission logs in spiral notebooks during his time in Vietnam. Fact: Chris Lafrida organized a search for Forrest's plane some 50 years after he was shot down. This briefing document provides a comprehensive overview of the main content and themes within the provided excerpts. The posts offer a mix of personal reflections, historical anecdotes, observations on life, and notably in the later period, direct commentary on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the treasure hunt.